All right, what's going on, guys? My name's Cam, and in this video today, I'm going to be talking a little bit about ADHD and really just kind of what it's like to have ADHD as an adult or as you get older, kind of how I manage it and how I cope with it and stuff. Now, a few things to mention right off the bat. So ADHD is actually on like a big rise. I'm sure a handful of people probably know that out there. There's a couple theories as to why this is. Whether it's based on like technology or if it's just that we, actually have the resources and stuff now to diagnose it. So more and more people are getting diagnosed with it. But either way, it is on the climb. Now, ADHD, if you don't already know, is attention deficit hyperactive disorder, which I'm sure if you're clicking on this video, you probably understand what it already is, which essentially just means you have a difficult time kind of directing your attention on one thing. It doesn't necessarily mean that you can't pay attention to anything. But it's more or less like you have a hard time directing it on like a specific task or a specific thing at a certain time. So kind of just like an example, there could be a kid out there who has a hard time focusing in school and he can't direct his attention towards classes or towards his homework or whatever. But as soon as he gets home, he's like laser focused on, video games or whatever other game or thing that he's playing with on his cell phone or something or a tablet. So it's not necessarily that he can't focus, but I guess it's more like selective focusing, I guess you could say. Personally, I believe technology is one of the biggest reasons why ADHD is on the climb, just simply because I don't think our brains are necessarily adapt for the world that we live in today's day and age. I mean, it takes a really long time for, ourselves to evolve in any way whatsoever. And if you think, 50, 60, 70 years ago compared to now in terms of technology, like people before, they were still going outside to play all the time. They were reading magazines or listening to the radio. They had black and white TV. Again, versus now where there's just technology and stimulation everywhere between like video games, YouTube, TikTok, anything else on our cell phones, advertisements, even like it's just colors and noises and sounds or whatever. And it's just nonstop 24/7. And all of these things are literally designed to keep our attention, to keep us engaged on that one thing. And I mean, try to like think about the last time that you were actually bored, like legitimately bored, not doing anything, not watching TV, not playing a game, not talking to someone, like sitting there bored with nothing to do. It just doesn't really happen anymore. But anyways, moving on, I'm going to talk about my own ADHD and what it's like on a daily basis. And then just kind of some other random symptoms that other people might have that I might not have. So I've been diagnosed with ADHD on 3 different occasions by 3 different doctors. And the first time was being about 10 years ago or so. Absolutely gotten better with this, but really only within the last like couple of years. Unfortunately, when I was diagnosed, like none of them really did anything to give me like a plan or whatever to kind of work with it on a daily basis. It was just kind of like, yep, like you have ADHD. And I was like, okay, like what do I do about it? So just within the last couple of years or so, like, I don't know if it was just, how they say your brain like develops when you turn 25, 26 or so. I don't know if it has anything to do with that or what the case is, but it has gotten a ton better within honestly just the last year or so. And I know that they say that you can grow out of certain symptoms of ADHD. I guess some people can technically maybe grow into them as well. I've definitely grown out of some, but I've also developed like some other ones that I never used to experience before, which is kind of strange. So the first symptom that I have, and this is one that I just recently kind of realized or, stumbled upon as I've gotten older, and it's the fact that I cannot multitask, right? Like no matter how hard I try, I used to think that I could multitask. I was like, oh, I can do, 2, 3, 4 things at one time, no problem. And now it's like, if I have, 2, 3, 4 different things to do, especially like work related. If I've got, a handful of tabs pulled up on my computer screen, like I'll start doing one thing and then I'll see the other tab and be like, oh, like I have to do this. And then I'll start doing that. And then something will pop into my head where I'm like, oh, like now I have to do this. So I'll click on another tab or open something else. And then like 30 or 40 minutes goes by and I haven't completed like any task at all. It's just like a little bit of one after another. So kind of one thing that I've recently done to help with that is to literally write down what the task is. And it's like, do this task, nothing else. Do this one. Even if something, important comes up or whatever, just focus on this. Don't start anything until this one is done. And I won't even write down like another task. Because if I start writing down one task, then I'll get distracted and I'll write down another one and another one and another one. And then I'll just spend too much time doing that. So it's very easy to get distracted off of one task to another. So it's just like, you have one thing to do, focus on it, do it, then move on. So the second symptom that I have here is forming any sort of new habit. So I am like very routine based. I do the same things constantly all the time. And with that said, like I really don't even have a routine. So that's kind of paradoxical. But anyways, it's really hard for me to introduce new habits into my routine unless I am hyper focused on it for like 7 days in a row. And what I mean by that is like, if it's something simple, like drink more water in a day, right? Like I have to literally have a bottle next to my dresser. I have to carry it with me. I have to have it in my bag. Like it has to be there because I'm just going to forget about it. And I'm just not going to introduce the task. I might be good for like 1 or 2 days. And then day 3 comes along and it's like, it just completely slips my mind. Or even if it's something with work. So a lot of times we'll get like new, I don't know how to explain this. Like, I don't know, random like procedures or tasks, I guess, that we have to do on like a daily basis or a weekly basis. And if it's something new that I haven't done before, I mean, it might take me like a month or so to like actually get that task down and to complete it on time. Because if it's not a part of my like normal routine, I'm just going to 100% forget about it. So my third one, this is kind of, I guess, based off of the second one, is forgetfulness. And I mean, this is a huge one for me. It's been a huge one for me my whole entire life. And I cannot tell you how many times I've walked out the door forgetting my phone, my wallet, my keys, or my glasses. Normally I wear glasses when I drive. And I even used to, a couple of years ago, I started saying, phone, wallet, keys, glasses, like as I would walk out the door. But then it just became a habit and routine, and I would just automatically say it. And I would still walk out the door without my wallet or something. So that didn't work. That worked, I guess, a little bit for me. In order for me to fix that is I just have everything all in one place. Like up in my kitchen on my counter, I've got my phone, not my phone, I have my keys, I have my wallet, and I have my glasses all set together. Just so anytime I go to walk out the door, if I grab one, I'm grabbing all 3 of them. 99% of the time I will have my phone in my pocket, so I typically won't forget that, but there are still occasions. Or then again, if something kind of gets brought up at work and it's like, hey, like you have to do this, this week or whatever. If I don't write that specific task down, it'll be completely gone by the time I walk out the door. And then I'll randomly remember it like 3 or 4 days later when I'm like driving to the gym or something. I'll be like, oh shoot, like I didn't do that. But then again, if I don't write it down, I'm just going to forget about it again. And recently I've actually started using Google Calendar to put a bunch of tasks or events in on my calendar. And you can set like a time frame. You can set alarms or reminders for it as well. And I can pull up my calendar and see like throughout my week, like what I have to do. So that's been something that's helped a ton with that, especially with work. Again, if something pops up on, due on Thursday or whatever, I'll just go into my calendar, punch it in, and then I just leave it and forget about it because I will forget about it. But then the next day when I open my calendar, I'll look and I'll be like, oh yeah, Thursday I have to do this, or I have an appointment on this day or something. And then another thing I'm going to throw into forgetfulness, this is something that I used to have really, really, really bad, but not so much anymore. And this is just overall comprehension, especially when it would come to reading. I remember being in like high school, I would read a book or whatever, or I'd get done with the page and I would sit there and I would be like, I literally have no clue what I just read. Or if I was sitting in class and like the teacher was talking and they were, talking about whatever, after like 2 minutes, I'd be like, I have no clue like whatsoever what this person just said. I don't know why. This is something that has gotten better for me. I can read perfectly fine. I mean, I could always read, but like the comprehension side of things is so much better now. And again, I don't know like what changed with it, but it's just, I can read an article or something now and I remember the whole entire thing. I'll watch a video now and, I can remember the whole video and it's perfectly fine. Cause I even used to have a hard time watching videos. I remember when I was in like college, one of my roommates got me hooked on like Vsauce videos and they're really interesting. They just talk about a bunch of like random sciencey stuff and I would watch it and I'd be like, wow, like, this is cool. It's interesting, blah, blah, blah. And then the video would end and like a day later, I'd be like, I have no clue what that video was even about. So that's something that's changed with me. Again, I don't know why, but it did. I'm very thankful for that. And then the fourth struggle that I have, and this is by far probably the worst one for me, tied in with one more, which I'll say in a second, and that is my time management. I have absolutely zero concept whatsoever of how long something is going to take me. And this is really, really frustrating just because, I might have to get up and leave for work or something, and I've got like 20 minutes, and it's like, all right, like I can take a shower, brush my teeth, whatever. And then all of a sudden, it's like the blink of an eye, like 25 minutes goes by and I'm like, shoot, like now I'm running late and I'm not even ready. And I think it's kind of tied in with the first one. And that's just not focusing on one task at a time. Maybe I'll get ready to take a shower and then I'll be like, oh, I got to feed the cats. So then I'll go feed the cats. And then I'll be like, oh, I'm hungry. So then I'm going to go make food. And then I'll be like, oh, maybe I should clean the kitty litter. So then I'll change the kitty litter. And then it's just like a whole bunch of things that kind of get listed into one. Again, just kind of going back to focus on one task at a time, one thing at a time, do this and then move on. But the time management side of things, again, is really, really hard for me. And that is something that I still struggle with. I really don't have a solution for it because if I did, I would implement it and I would be a lot better at it. But for now, my focus is just simply, like I said, one task, move on to the next. And then a few other symptoms that I have here as well. I won't talk too much about them though. But the first one is fidgeting. I am a fidgeter. I've always got something in my hands. If I'm talking, if I don't have anything in my hands, I will talk with my hands. I'm known at work for clicking a marker. I will walk around constantly clicking the marker. Don't care how annoying it is. I have to have something in my hands. don't know why. I don't know if it's like an anxiety thing. Like if I don't have it in my hands and I'm like anxious, I have no idea. But that's one. Another one is dyslexia. Doesn't happen too much. It used to happen a lot back in school, especially like math class. I'll never forget. We had like a big algebra 2 exam. There was some equation or question or whatever, I don't know. And I did the whole entire thing. Like I studied super hard for it. Remembered the equation, remembered everything, did it right, and I flipped an 8 and a 9. It was supposed to be 89, and I wrote down 98. So then the rest of like all of my calculations were wrong. And I remember getting the exam back, and I was like, what the heck did I do wrong? Like I know I did this right. And I went back and looked, and it was because I flipped the stupid numbers over. I still do this every once in a while now. I do it a lot with reading. If I'm reading something, I'll flip 2 words like with each other. Sometimes I'll catch it, sometimes I won't. It's not that annoying. I don't have it that bad, but randomly I will kind of experience it. Another one, I'm not sure if this is related to ADHD or not. I assume partially, but it's a horrible sleep schedule. I mean, completely non-existent. I never fall asleep at the same time. I never wake up at the same time. I have no idea why. You know, there's some random days where I'll be tired at 10 o'clock at night, and there's some days where I'll lay down at 10 o'clock at night, and it's like my mind just goes, and I'll be up for 2 or 3 more hours, and there's nothing that can put me to sleep. I've tried melatonin. I've tried sleeping aids, like other sleeping aids. Nothing works for me. And it's annoying too, because I'll find myself really tired randomly throughout the days. 3 or 4 o'clock will come up, and I'll just be exhausted. And it's weird because, you know, some of the days, like I'll sleep for like 10 hours. I mean, I hate to admit this, but truthfully, like I've slept for like 13 or 14 hours before, like straight through nonstop. But I'm assuming that's probably because throughout the week, when I do get up for work, I'm running on like 3-4 hours of sleep sometimes. I can't nap anymore, so the napping schedule is completely gone. Try to, but I might get like an hour of napping if I'm lucky. So the sleep schedule sucks. I used to have really bad social anxiety, and I know like social anxiety and depression it can be linked with ADHD. I'm not sure if that was any correlation or not there. Another one is, I think they call it paralyzing procrastination. Basically what this is like, if you have an appointment or if you have to work or something later in the day, so say like 4 or 5 o'clock at night or something, you like can't do anything up until that appointment or task is complete. And I don't know why this happens. It happens to me constantly all the time, and it is really frustrating. I'm okay with doing things like in the house, like I can work at home, or I can, you know, if I have to clean or something, I can clean at home as well, but I can't leave the house. And my guess is it probably has something to do with the time management stuff. Like I'm afraid it's going to take me too long to, you know, go to the gym or go to the grocery store or something. So that's my guess for why I have a hard time with that. I'm not too sure. And then the last one on here is constantly being tired at the wrong times. Now, again, I'm not sure if this has anything to do with ADHD or not, but like I said earlier, 2-3 o'clock rolls around, like I could be exhausted and like in like desperate need of a nap. But then like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock hits, and it's like I'm wide awake. My brain is just racing uncontrollably. And I don't know if this has to do with the poor sleep schedule. I'm sure it very likely does have something to do with that. But it is something that's really frustrating, really annoying, just getting tired at the wrong times constantly, like every single day. Now, here's some symptoms that I do not have, but some other people might out there have them. And the first one is talking too much. And I'm going to kind of throw this in with the next one as well, which is interrupting people. I used to have really bad social anxiety, so I've never talked too much to begin with, nor did I ever interrupt people, just because I was always afraid of like what they would think of me, or I didn't want to piss anybody off if I was interrupting them. So that's not something that I deal with too much. The next one is being poorly organized. So I actually am pretty fairly organized, believe it or not, in terms of like a clean apartment, and like on my computer, like all my files are organized and stuff. So that's one that I personally really don't struggle with too much. Occasionally I'll get kind of lazy and like not fold my laundry for a couple days, but I absolutely hate laundry more than anything. So I'm just going to chalk it up to that. And then the last two here, again, I'm going to kind of throw these in together with each other. First one is being impatient. Second one is being impulsive. I'm not very impulsive or impatient at all, to be honest with you. I feel like I have a pretty good grasp and pretty good control under both of those. I mean, I guess you could say I'm impatient when it comes to like traffic or something. Like I feel like everybody's impatient in traffic though. That's like the biggest one for me. Again, those are just a couple other random symptoms that some other people might have that I do not deal with on a daily basis. So yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and wrap the video up there. Again, I was just kind of talking about what it's like to have ADHD in my life, what I go through on a day-to-day basis. I'm very curious as to what some of you guys deal with. If you have some of the same, symptoms or struggles that I do, if you guys have any different ones that I did not mention out there, again, I would love to hear it. So if you guys liked the video, go ahead, hit that like button. If you really liked it, go ahead, hit the subscribe button. I'm really trying to get to 100 subscribers by the end of the year, so it would help me out a ton. And yeah, with that said, have a good night, guys.